I think the most important thing, a huge focus today was on sustainable aviation fuel. And it's just talking about the opportunity ahead for, especially for U.S. corn ethanol, and then talking about a soybean oil aspect as well. Um, I think one of the most important things is that this is in its infancy. We're so early in something that has the potential to grow so large and be so impactful. Um, it's just as it stands today, U.S. corn ethanol does not qualify as a pathway, so as a way that we can make sustainable aviation fuel because of how the IRA tax credits are structured. So, today it was about learning the importance of carbon sequestration was one of the big drivers.
And people heard about that. They heard a lot of references to 45Z that they're going to hear a lot more about.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to find out what the government's going to do with that. Farmers really didn't hear that much being beat over the head about growing cover crops or reducing their nitrogen input or anything like that. It was just what happens when that corn leaves the farm and heads out to the industry of where it can go and the potential for getting into biofuels.
Yeah, and the thing is that at the farm level, there are adjustments, there are things that you can do, but it was pointed out multiple times today that these the smart ag or climate smart that these things just they almost don't move the needle. And so, that is where groups like Summit, for instance, come in with their Summit Carbon Solutions, the pipeline that they're working on, or Marquis today. They're talking about doing the carbon sequestration on site at what is one of the largest single site ethanol facilities in the world. So these are the things that are the most important to the industry going forward. And then, like Todd from Green Plains spoke of, they have 3 plants in Nebraska that they are partnering in a different pipeline that will be sequestered, I believe, in Wyoming, on schedule to like last half of next year. So we're 1 year away from those plants having corn ethanol that qualifies as a feedstock for sustainable aviation fuel production.
Now, farmers who are listening to this are saying, when am I going to get paid? But for what I do, if I raise a crop with cover crops and low tillage and climate favorable nitrogen, when am I going to get compensated for all of my efforts? And I don't know that anybody really knows at this point, do they?
Yeah, I think one thing to remember is that, ethanol is very important to U.S. corn demand. And especially as we see competitors like Brazil continuing to produce larger crops. Last year was the first year they out exported the U.S. Aside from a drought situation. So it's really important for corn ethanol demand, the viability going forward. Today, as we were talking, Marquis, they announced that they have a program for producers where they are covering the cost of helping a producer determine their carbon intensity score. And so then they can start to, going forward, look at ways of moving the needle. I think that we're going to continue to see not just ethanol plants or companies, but we're going to see grain companies and a lot of others come on board with programs that help incentivize or provide some sort of premium in a situation where a producer is able to adopt more climate-friendly practices. But long term, though, again, for U.S. ag, and especially with U.S. corn demand, we're talking about a very big picture thing here, and just working on the carbon sequestration piece so we can see corn ethanol become a pathway into sustainable aviation fuel.